Blokes love their outdoors and their fishing.
Well, good afternoon, listeners. You're tuned to Radio 97.1 Sweet FM, and the time now is just 2 minutes past 2. And as you know, I often have different people popping in to see me. Well, I'm a bit overdone this afternoon because I have 4 blokes here with me. And I don't know whether I can hold my own with them, but I'll do my very best. First up, we have Adrian van Rossum, and we have, well, you know, Ronnie Odgers. He's better known as Nudge. We have Rick Romeo, and of course we all know that Rick is magic. And Robert Zandonadi, who's Two Bags. And for goodness me, I don't know why on earth they'd have ever called Robert Two Bags. But anyway, I'll speak to Adrian first. And Adrian, welcome back to Sweet FM, because it was about 2007, I think, that we had our first talk, wasn't it, about you making a film?
Yeah, I think when I was doing some auditions, had an idea for auditions, and came in. We had a bit of a chat around that period. Yeah.
Okay, and you've gone a long way since then.
Yeah, well, we've got a few miles on the clock now. Yeah, all the filming was done, the editing done. We finished the film Blokes, and we're submitting it into film festivals. We had our world premiere down in Bowen at the Whitsunday Film Festival last month. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the operators of the Delta Cinemas were there, saw the movie, and they said, right, we want to show this in air.
Well, it's happening.
Yeah, and originally I think the idea was maybe to show it in September, around maybe Father's Day and everything. And I said, well, do you want to show it in September? They said, no, it's too far away. We'll strike while the iron's hot.
Well,
now.
I think you need to, now that the interest is there.
Yeah,
And it's going to be a premiere night where everyone can they come as blokes? Can they get dressed as blokes to come, or do they have to get dressed up?
No, there's no real dress standards. I mean, anyone who wants to see the photos of what we wore at the world premiere can see that. So, yeah.
But single pluggers or double pluggers?
Yeah, that's the big question. Like, yeah, it's all about the proven reliability of your chosen footwear. Do you go a double plug thong or a single plug thong?
Right.
So, even though it might save $1 buying the single plugger, but is it worth it in the long term?
No, well, I wouldn't think so. Yeah. No.
It's just like V8s. Hey, Rob, like they've got to pick the right tyres. It's just like if you're a fella.
You go with a soft compound or a hard compound?
Exactly.
Well, I do know that when you started out, you all went on a fishing trip. I'm right, aren't I?
The idea for the movie came in 2002. I went off with a bunch of mates from the Burdekin. Every 2 years they used to go up the Gulf fishing. It was like a bit of a ritual. Yeah. And for years they said, come along. But I was busy at the time filming weddings and events. And Rick, I'll tell you, winter's really busy with weddings and things, and I just couldn't get away in May. Anyway, years were going by, and I'm like, I want to go on one of these trips. I said, right, I'll put a few weeks aside in May, take no wedding bookings, and I'll go and see what do these guys get up to, what's all the fuss about. Took a few cameras, shot what the guys got up to, turned it into a little documentary called Golf 2002. Gave a copy to each of the fellas, the 8 fellas in total, and thought not much of it until months later I was getting pulled up in the main street of Ayr. People were saying, oh, I saw your movie, I loved it. You know, one guy even went into a video shop.
Tried to buy it?
Yeah, and he said, well, can I hire out Golf 2002? And they looked it up on the computer and said, we don't have a movie by that name. He says, well, everyone's talking about it, everyone's seen it. And it just gave me the idea, people really want to see some of this homegrown sort of local stuff they can relate to.
But it is what local blokes get up to, isn't it?
Oh, very much so, yeah. The quintessential sort of, get away from the wife and the girlfriend and the kids. And
I wasn't thinking of that part. I was just thinking about you going fishing.
Under the pretense of going away on a fishing trip, and just, the bit of...
you just better be a bit careful what you tell them, because, the women could be listening.
Well, from what I've heard from the cinema box office, a lot of ladies have bought tickets for the Burdekin premiere. And Evelyn Webb's there saying, now, ladies, you do know this is a little bit risque, it's a bit of... The language is a bit colourful. And they're like, yeah, we watched the trailer online. We know. Yep, we want to see it. So I'm like, the trailer's not scaring them off, so I don't know.
Well, remember way back in those days, I think you gave me a copy of what you had too, and I went home and was very proud to watch it. So if it can get past me, I reckon it'll be okay for everyone.
Yeah, you'll be right.
Yes. So... what's the date of the movie? I've just put my copy down there. You'll have to tell me.
Friday, July 26th, we're having
26th, that's right.
The premiere night. So $20 tickets, and people can come along, see the movie, and for an hour before the show, we're going to serve beer, wine, and some Aussie finger food.
That's right.
So pretty good value for $20. And basically, I think the tickets are selling quick. I had to drop another batch. They sold out yesterday at the box office, and they had to drop another batch in. And if all the second batch all sell, that's it. The cinema's full. They can't fit any more people. So,
well, I mean, everybody knows these three fellas here, Ron and Rick and Robert, and I think they'll be all wanting to see just exactly what they got up to.
No, definitely. I think, but you really need to get your tickets, because my first cousins are threatening to come along, and Robert's first cousins are threatening to come along. So that's 2,000. So if you don't get your ticket.
Well, they might have to have it in a relay. They might have to have a few nights, in a few weeks later on, and keep putting it on. Who'd know?
Yeah, who'd know? And if Ronnie's fans come along, the people that buy his album, there's another 15,000 tickets.
Basically. And it'll come down from the Impy pub in Ravenswood.
All the mining mates.
Watch out for the Impy.
We'll have to wake
we should wait and hope that some of the Ravenswood people come down, because we might hear a few stories that Ronnie's never told us.
Yes. What happens on film set stays on film set.
Yeah. Well, you went up the Cape, didn't you, when you went this fishing trip? So we might have a little track of John Williamson with Cape York Peninsula.
You're tuned to 97.1 Sweet FM.
And if you've just tuned in, I have these blokes in the studio with me, and it's Adrian Van Rossum, Ron Odgers, Rick Romeo, and Robert Zandonadi. And these are the boys that had all the excitement with the great movie that was featured at it was their world premiere at the Whitsunday Film Festival back in June. And they're in here now telling us all about the fact that they're going to be appearing on the screen at the Burdekin Delta Cinema on Friday, July the 26th, 7:30 start for an 8:30 screening. And they're just telling us off air now how many people have bought tickets. So if you want one, you better be zipping into the Burdekin Delta Cinema before they close this afternoon. So, Adrian, you talk to these fellows about some of the funny little things that happened while you were making this movie.
Okay, yeah, well, I know it was just a lot of fun. We went away for 3 weeks. We went to Ravenswood, Cooktown, pick up shots, a secret Burdekin fishing spot, and it was just really, really good. Little anecdotes. At one point, we had hair dye and Nudge's hair, a little bit of black sort of on the beard and the moustache and stuff, and sometimes a couple of greys were sneaking through. I don't know how that happened. Must be just the stress maybe of being on set. So towards the end, up in Cooktown there, we were running out of eyeliner, I think it was. So we were putting in so anyway, Ron found a good solution. He just wiped off some diesel black off the muffler of the truck and wiped it in, and it was like worked a treat. And I'm thinking, this is independent cinema. This is indie filmmaking.
Do with what you got
at its best, big time. So but it was a lot of fun, and I think the guys enjoyed it too. I've had friends who've made films, and sometimes they'd shoot them over 4 years just working on the weekends, and I just saw how time consuming it was stretching it out for that long. And sometimes people lose interest in a project and their attention wanes, or someone might want to change their hairstyle, I just saw the logistic nightmare of making a film over that long just on weekends. And I thought, well, no, I'll do something different. I'll just get a bunch of guys willing to take some holidays, and we just go hard for 3 weeks, and it came together. So we did a few pickup shots afterwards. I'd get in the editing and I'm like, okay, I need this, and we'd get back together maybe for half a day or a weekend at the Cape or something, and do some pickup shots. But otherwise, it all came together. So,
Rick, what have you got to tell us about the trip to the Cape?
Well, I went to school with Robert from grade 1, so I knew Robert.
Oh, well, there you go.
So there was no problems there. Ronnie, I knew, but I never really knew Ron, so it was fantastic getting to know Ron. But I mean, the script's fantastic. It's clever, it's witty. Like Adrian said, it's not for everybody, but it is what guys do when they go fishing. And the best part about the film for me is the fact that it's all Burdekin.
Well, that's exactly right.
People that work behind the scenes were all Burdekin boys. The actors are all Burdekin boys. much to our surprise. But yeah, it was a fantastic experience.
But knowing the three of you, as I do, I can just imagine how natural it is. You would be yourselves. You weren't trying to put the dog on pretending you were some famous actor. You were just Burdekin Blokes.
Yeah, we were. Although I read a quote by Kate Blanchett where she said, I don't want to play characters that are like me in real life. I want to play characters that are completely different, because where's the fun and challenge in that? So Adrian's really challenged us, because we're playing three characters that are definitely not like us in real life at all.
Oh, well, there
so
you go,
it was a real challenge, but a lot of fun to do.
I can imagine. I don't think that you could do anything without being some fun. I know you're too well read.
I think Burdekin Delta will be very surprised though at the character that Rick plays in particular. Like, he is so far out of his comfort zone in portraying the Lothario. He's the ladies' man.
So what are you saying, Adrian?
He's a guy scared of that C word commitment. So I think people, and in real life we know he's,
he's very sedate, isn't he?
Happily married and sort of singing in the church choir. And,
Well, not for much longer, but wait till next week and he might be sacked from that job.
Got to revoke his
Well, are we inviting people from the church to go along? Just
Definitely, why not?
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
It's all good fun.
Rob's been waiting for that position in the choir for years.
My foot's been at that door for you to sneak in.
But Ronnie wrote most of the songs that you hear on the soundtrack. Ronnie wrote, and I think he got the inspiration from the countryside, didn't you, Ron?
It was beautiful. Some of the stuff trapped or captured on that camera is amazing. This bloke makes that
makes it talk.
Yeah, he makes that bloke that made Australia look like a beginner.
Baz, what's his name?
Baz something, yeah.
Baz Van Rossum.
Oh, dear me.
Yeah.
Oh, you're on my screen. So, Ronnie, there must be something that you can tell us about your experience during the making of the film.
We would have finished about a month earlier if I could have remembered my lines. And it was dread. It was just pure dread when we first went out to do our with the cruiser behind Christo's place there. What we call it, the auditions. The auditions.
Yeah.
And you had to drive this thing through that
headland.
The little Scout that he's got, and the gears just don't fit where the gears should be. And the headland was just ploughed up, and we were trying to concentrate on the drive, and let alone your lines. So that was really that. I don't know how I got the part.
The idea was like to have auditions. Sometimes people just walk in on a stage, stand there, and I'm like, and I was thinking, well, that's just so not what this movie's about. We're going to be out in the bush. They're going to be having to do things. I thought, what if I audition people? I give them a couple of parts of scenes to read. To recite, but at the same time they've got to be doing something, like driving my Suzuki
doing more than one thing at a time.
Yeah, multitasking. And I said this will, basically sort out the wheat from the chaff. So and basically then I had I think over about 20 people auditioned.
Oh, was there that many? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was living in England at the time. Flew back to England and reviewed the footage, and then basically started
That's how you came
offering
to
parts. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So Ronnie, you couldn't have been too bad.
No, I reckon. But one bloke was very religious, wasn't he? He wanted to change the whole thing, didn't he?
Yeah, he said he couldn't do the film on moral grounds, and he had some suggestions for the script. And I thought, I don't want to be watering it down.
Was that you, Robert?
Another fellow was a school teacher, actually, local school teacher, and he ran it by Queensland Education, and they said, well, it is during the semester. You got to decide, do you want to be a teacher or an actor? And I told him, I said, you don't get stars in your eyes. This is a little indie film. I wouldn't quit my day job.
No. And what about you, Robert? What have you got to tell us?
Oh, look, it was the experience of a lifetime. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed the experience. There was never a dull moment on set, no matter if it was morning, day, night, when we were finished, laughing, telling jokes and reminiscing the day's events. But what really surprised me was some of the scenery we went and visited and did the filming at, especially back here at the Burdekin. There's some magic places where, mobile phones, no TVs, no music, no radio, was just fantastic. You don't need that stuff in your life once you're out there.
Exactly.
Just serenity.
Great place to go to relax.
Magic. The spots we went and did a lot of the filming was, we had a lot of fun doing it, and of course I'm known as a bit of a practical joker, and I love playing pranks on the guys, and I know we just had an absolute ball. Just thoroughly enjoyed it. It was an experience I'll never forget.
Well, I'm just hoping that Railway Avenue might be filled with motorhomes and caravans this afternoon. So if they don't get in to see the movie on Friday the 26th of July, maybe, Adrian, we might be able to squeeze it in some other time if we can get them to come back, because let them see what the scenery around the Burdekin's all about. Because that's what we're trying to push here now is tourism. And I mean, Adrian's come from Townsville today, so he's a tourist.
That's right.
And his last name doesn't end in a vowel. So.
No, so it's going to be terrific, and we might have another little music break, and then we're going to talk about you getting your classification, Adrian.
Okay, yep.
That all right with you?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, we'll see what we'll seeing we're talking about Ronnie Odgers and pulling into pieces. We'll have sitting, sipping, and fishing. And listeners, if you've been tuned in, we're having some great fun time here in the studio because I have the 4 blokes from the Blokes movie, and they've had their world premiere in Bowen at the Whitsunday Film Festival, and that was back in June. But they'll be screening it at the Burdekin Delta Cinema on Friday the 26th of July. 30 p.m, start for an 8:30 screening, and the tickets are $20 each, which will include complimentary beer, wines and Aussie finger food. So Adrian, I now know that you have the classification fee on the movie, and not the classification fee, the classification on the movie, but you have to pay a fee. That's right.
Yeah, but basically, for anything to be shown in a public,
area?
in a public area, you have to go through the Film Classification Board to get it officially rated and have warnings. So I looked into that, and quite expensive for a theatrical screening. It was $2,180. So I thought, right, we have to get it, even if we put it on DVD or video on demand. I'll have to get a rating eventually.
That's right.
So before that I did have a producer's little note before the film saying the producers recommend viewing by mature audiences, just as a warning that it's not for anyone 15 and below. But we've got our rating back. It's MA 15 plus with warnings for strong language, coarse humour, a sex scene and sexual references. So that ticks the box for most fellas out there what they're looking for in a movie.
That's it. Pretty much it.
The checklist.
So yes, it's going to be very interesting for those that know these 3 at least, and what they normally get up to. They might be in for a bit of a surprise, and it's well worth going to the movie to see that.
I think it'd be a bit of an eye-opener, some parts, and also at the end, I like that bit where and then some of the older films, it's made a bit of a comeback where they show the bloopers, things that go wrong during the making of a film. So I've thrown in a whole bunch of bloopers just to remind people that it's fictional, that it was a script, it's not real life, and you get to see some of the practical jokes the guys get up to, and Ron one take Odgers at his best.
And Muffy.
So stick around for the end credits. That's
the bloopers themselves could have been an hour and a half movie on its own.
Well, listeners, we've got to remind you, if you see Ronnie Odgers now, you must call him Nudge. And if you see Rick, well, he's magic, but we always knew he was magic. And nobody's told me yet how Robert's going to get the name of 2 bags.
It's all revealed in the movie. That's right. There's one certain scene in the movie where it displays graphically what 2 bags means. So.
Okay.
And it is mentioned Nudge in one of his voiceovers does describe the genesis of such a nickname. It basically harks back to sometimes kids can be really cruel with the nicknames.
They can.
They invent for people, and unfortunately 2 bags he had to wear one of those nicknames. So,
I see.
Through no fault of his own.
Okay, righto. So well, gee, I don't know. And going by what you're saying, Adrian, the ladies are going and buying the tickets, so I think it's going to be a really exciting night.
Yeah, it's I'd just be a buzz showing it to the hometown, the town that inspired the idea for the film, and I thought, well, if we can't if we can't sell a few tickets in the Burdekin, we'll really be up against it. But it also it's also had a pent-up demand. People have known we've been working on this for 3-4 years plus.
That's right.
And people have, been asking all of us, when do we get to see this film? And it's just a relief to say, right, here's a date. You've got no excuses. Like,
the day is decided.
Here it is.
Yes, I can remember you coming in here. When was it? 2007? Somewhere around about that.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit. I think when we were doing the audition.
Chat, yes.
Yeah.
And I think I had a look at it on the computer one day. Maybe you gave me a copy and I had a look at it, and I thought it was very good.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm being interested in cameras and all sorts of things myself, and I think it'll be absolutely fantastic.
Well, one of the inspirations for the film was when I went and saw Kenny, the Aussie movie about a plumber, and I saw a behind the scenes on the making of that, and they were using basically cameras virtually identical to what I was using to shoot weddings, and they had all sorts of problems because they filmed it in 4x3, like almost a square shape, and then all of a sudden they were going to get a theatrical release, and they had to make it letterboxed, and they had all sorts of nightmares in post-production. I thought, well, but they got there, and just that's with the technology that's available now. I said, well, technology is no longer an excuse.
That's right.
The only thing stopping me doing it is, a pen and a paper, writing a script, and then finding people willing to jump on board, just like they did with Kenny. And I thought, well, if they could do it, then I reckon we could too. And that's that sort of sparked the idea for it, as well as seeing a movie years ago, Clerks, by Kevin Smith. I find his work. He just wrote a film about his mates, and sort of similar to how they talk when they get together. It was just set in a convenience store about two attendants at the counter, and he did a whole movie based around these two attendants in a convenience store, and shot it black and white because they didn't want the hassle of colour correcting, and they only had access to a convenience store, I think, at midnight when the store closed, so they'd film from midnight till 6, and they said because they were filming under fluorescent lights, they said black and white avoided. It was just fascinating. I think he ran up 7 credit cards to their maximum to get this film made, and he says basically he just had to get his message out there, or tell his story. He said, and he basically said if it flopped, he'd be like, oh, what do I do with the rest of my life now? Because he wanted to make this film so much.
Done. Yeah.
So,
Yes. Well, you've got to have a plan, haven't you? You've got to have a vision of what you want to do, and once you've got that vision, you really want to go after it.
Yeah, it's sort of like dreams and smiles are free. So
right.
Might as well chase them.
So tell me this: when are you making the next movie?
I've got ideas actually for 2 more films, and I just got them sort of
in the back of
locked away in the mind, and I let them sort of ferment, sort of, and give them some thought. But I really want to just keep getting Blokes out there now. Like after the theatrical, we're going to look at maybe video on demand, and just and wait for a bit of feedback too from the audience, like what they'd like to see in other films.
So, do we have to pay to get your autograph at the movie?
Most definitely.
Oh no.
It all goes towards Beaver's expenses.
They probably have a sliding scale. I don't know how it's measured.
It's a well-run Sicilian night, it will be, Merle.
Depending on
Well, I mean, if you win a game of tennis, well, everybody's there with the tennis ball for you to sign, so we have to find something that you blokes have got to sign.
The price goes up depending on how many vowels are in the name.
That's
so
right.
Rick and Robert are going to cost a fortune.
You need to bring a bath towel to put my signature on there. Not a serviette.
Well, listeners, I'm going to tell you again when this movie's on. It is on Friday the 26th of July. It's at the Burdekin Delta Cinema. It's 7:30 p.m. to start. That means that's when they'll be having the complimentary beer, wine and Aussie finger food, I would imagine. But the movie will screen starting at 8:30. Now, I've just got a vision going through my mind at the moment. I think they might have to stop the movie while everybody has a really good laugh, because they'll miss the next bit.
Yeah, that's the thing.
True.
We found that at Bowen also. It was people were laughing at the build-up to the punchline. We were actually missing the punchline. It was, there's a couple of friends of mine who went to Bowen. They're also coming again to watch the movie a second time, just so they could get the laugh. They could absorb it a lot better.
Yes.
But that's what I noticed in Bowen was people laughing to the lead up of the punchline, and then were missing that. Might have to sit there with the pause, their finger on the pause button, and just Let them have their laugh and then continue.
Yeah.
It's not like a stage production where when you're on stage delivering lines, there's laughter. You can
stop for a bit.
Pause.
Pause. Yes.
You know, let the laughter die down and continue on with your script. But in a movie, you can't. So
one writer once said, "Oh, a computer or a typewriter, it loves every word you write," and it's hard sometimes to go from the page, like how it'll translate once it's filmed and delivered by the actors and then plays in a theatre. Like some lines I thought were actually nothing, just links to a joke. People are chuckling away, you know, like yeah. And I'm like, I didn't even find that funny, but people are finding it funny. And then other things you think are hilarious might go a little flat. And it's quite a learning curve, being in with the audience, seeing what they react to.
The fact that it's in the Burdekin and they all know these three, they will be having lots and lots of laughs.
Well, they thought they knew us.
I mean, us three, we all went to the Jarvisfield Acting School, Merle.
Did you?
So, you know, delivery of our work from the Jarvisfield Acting School was just outstanding.
Well, the time you took kept you in good stead, didn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
I was destined to be on a stage.
So
The next one out of town.
Are you going to open the Burdekin Acting School now?
Oh, yeah, that's an idea.
Yeah, well, we could.
And Rick and Robert join us from doing Cats this year, doing an awesome job in Burdekin Singers.
Absolutely wonderful.
Cats.
I haven't, since I've been here, what's it now, 13 years, and I haven't missed a Burdekin Singers show yet. And I haven't been able to even criticise one. They've all been excellent, absolutely wonderful. So, and of course, Ronnie Odgers, you know, he's appeared with Macca and all these other people. He didn't go and see Macca when he came to Townsville, but he was wanting to know, is Ronnie Odgers here?
Well, he joined me from the set of Baz Luhrmann's Australia. So
yes, of course. How could I forget?
He thought he'd He said,
take long to forget, does it?
He said, right, I don't want to be these extras. He said, I want to be centre stage. So he said he made the leap from an extra to one of the leads. That's pretty impressive.
I'd say with the next film, Adrian might bypass us and like you, George Clooney, or make Hugh.
Yeah, right. Well, I didn't get as far as to tell the listeners that the tickets are $20 each.
Yes.
No. But there you go, Friday the 26th of July at the Burdekin Delta Cinema. $20, and I tell you, I've had $20 worth of laughs this afternoon.
And you'll also get Ronnie Odgers will be performing before the film, so he'll be singing before the film.
That's Ulrich.
Okay.
We'll do some songs
there you
the
go.
That's a bonus.
That's a bonus. Oh, yes.
And I'll be running around locking the doors, make sure no one leaves.
That's right.
Well, you better have your little donation, you know, open your port in front so that you throw in their donation.
For busking.
You know, busking.
You're
going to do it free, eh?
Yeah. Well,
righto.
Oh, well, we could, I suppose, all towards, you know, Beaver's...
the Van Rossum retirement fund.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's just been so wonderful having you all in here this afternoon, and just so much better than being at home in front of a computer, doing music or something or other. And I wish you all well and congratulations on what you've done, and you especially, Adrian, because it took a lot of hard yakka behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, it's funny. Like I've said to people, I'll have trouble ever criticising a film now, and people said, why? I said, well, they got it made, they got across the finish line. I said, it's so much work. Like,
it is so much work.
With or without funding. Like we didn't get any government funding for this, so just financed it myself, and it was really frustrating because at the start we were looking into funding from the film bodies, and some of the film bodies said, oh, well, we won't give you money unless you're a recognised producer. And I'm thinking, well, they're the ones that already have access to the money, because they're the Baz Luhrmanns and the George Millers. And then other funding bodies said, we won't fund Australiana. And I was like, what's the point of having film funding bodies to, you know, promote young, you know, emerging filmmakers if you've got all these really strict rules that virtually knock them on the head before they get going?
That's right.
I'm glad we did it all on our own steam now.
Yeah,
very proud of that.
Top marks, and the proof of the pudding will be at the cinema on Friday the 26th, and hope it all goes well, and I'm sure it will. I know it will. Adrian's telling us how fast the tickets are going, so it won't take long.
Hoping it'll be a sale. It's on the way to becoming a seller. We've even had the owners of the theatre said they've had people ringing them at home because people have been going to the cinema.
Not wanting to miss out.
And they're like, we're at the box office, you're not open yet. And Mrs. Webster was like, well, no, we don't open till, you know, the afternoon, especially because it's not school holidays. And she goes, people don't normally ever ring us at home, like chasing. They're really wanting. And so So there's that sense that people don't want to miss out.
Must
Well,
not
there
even
you
know for his
are.
cousins, Rob.
Yeah. So if there's ever a Blokes 2 made in the next 5 years, it'll be called Older, Dumber and Fatter.
And uglier.
Well, that really does put the icing on the cake.
Definitely.
Absolutely terrific.
Talking about icing on the cake, Merle, if it wasn't for the good tucker, all the bush tucker
Oh,
we had
yes.
up there by the blokes that
Blokes that work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That,
we'd come off set of a night and
That's
it'd be just
terrific, isn't it?
Yeah,
big
but-
bed and beard down.
Yeah, big shout out to some of my friends who came up, and I said to them, do you want to come up on a 3-week trip? I said, I'll pay for all the food. I said, I'll pay for all the petrol. I said, all I need you guys to do is just cook us some meals, like some camp oven food, maybe make some sandwiches at lunch. I said, because we're going to be busy trying to get through these 34 scenes. And yeah, to their credit, the guys just, said,
magic job.
Yeah,
Absolutely
beautiful.
wonderful.
And that's what friends are all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'd be out in the scrub somewhere and they'd find us with sandwiches and cold drinks, and it'd be so hot out there on the set. We never had air conditioning or anything.
You're out on rock.
No, I said to Adrian, well, you can find me in my trailer. And he said, there's your trailer over there, the boat trailer.
It's the closest thing we came to a trailer.
Good trailer.
Well, I'm sure everyone that's listened this afternoon has enjoyed it as much as I have, because to hear 4 people that are so happy and such great mates come in and talk naturally and tell everyone what it's all about, you couldn't do better than that.
No, come and see it.
Come and see it. Yep. Well,
It's all
make sure
Burdekin,
you
come
go
and
and
see
get those. What's today, Friday? They'll probably be there by about 5:30, something like that. And yes, I'm sure you'll enjoy yourselves when you go along to this movie, and do have a laugh, because we're saying, well, you might miss a little bit. Well, open your ears as you laugh. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
This
Have a
morning,
couple of stiff ones before you go in, mate, and you'll be right.
this morning we loaded up the trailer for Blokes onto the cinemas system down there. So I think they're going to program it in before some of the anything MA and above. So anyone going to the cinema over the next 2 weeks
get
will
an
probably
idea of it.
clamp their eyes on the trailer and get a feel for what it's all about.
Thank you all for coming.
Okay, thank you for having me.
well.
That's all right, mate.
I'm sure you'll get a wonderful reception.
Awesome.
Booze, barbecues, and women talking about Blokes. Ah, Blokes. There's no flaming doubt about 'em. What would we ever do without 'em? Talking about Blokes. Down the shed under the ute, or crabbing up the creek. 40 scores stuck in the fridge, talking shit, hunting pigs. Not enough hours in a week.